Welcome mates, I'm Bloodthirsty Lord, but you can call me Lordy, and today we're back on Paragon's official website to check out the hero balancing and see what the heroes are right now. Are they nerfed? Are they buffed? Which heroes are the best to use in this patch version 44.3? So this is like part 2 of the video. If you want to watch part 1, you can go click down in the description below to that link of that video so you can watch that before watching this. But before we get to this video, make sure you smash that bloody like button. Let's try to get 200 likes on this video. So without further ado, let's get straight into this. So the first hero on the list is Aurora. Her whole forest ability cooldown has been increased from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. Cry Season, her ultimate, has some changes there with the base damage reduced, the power scaling reduced, also the secondary explosion reduced in both base damage and power scaling. You can see the numbers there followed up by the information that we're talking about discussing within this video. Secondary explosion to non-hero targets has been reduced, and also to non-hero targets pretty much the power scaling and the base damage from the first burst, second burst to heroes and non-heroes have been all reduced at once. I don't know if I should discuss all the general balances, but most likely we're going to talk about the hardcore ability changes. The general balances, you'll be able to see them as we talk through the characters. So the next character is Countess, Blade Siphon ability. Damage increased from 88, 135, 181, 228, 205, 299, 246. So you got more damage out of the ability, so that makes him more of a burst type of character, so that's really great. Shadow Slip got a very interesting idea towards it, and that is slow magnitude increase from 20% at all levels to 42%, 45, 48, 51%. Slow duration increase from 1 second at all levels to 1.5 seconds at all levels. So you can use this to pretty much outplay enemies as well, and that's what we tried to do when Countess first got released with Shadow Slip, but the slow magnitude wasn't that high, and now it looks like it's getting drastically higher by 51% in total, followed by 1.5 second duration of that slow that you do apply when you put 4 points into Shadow Slip. Really great idea. I'm liking that little counter change there. Very slight, but it does work really nicely. So let's move on to Crunch, and he got a lot of changes. Forward Crunch now applies a 30% slow for 1.5 seconds at all levels. Also, his unimpelled dash rate has been decreased from 1,350 to 1,050 units. Impelled dash range has been decreased as well from 1,700 to 1,350. Cooldown increased from 8 seconds to 14 seconds at all levels. Cost decreased from 60 to 50 at all levels. So kind of a nerf there. So his left Crunch ability has also decreased in base damage, power scaling, cooldown, and cost, so a slight balance there within his ability. Right Crunch ability, base damage decreased, power scaling decreased, unempowered version no longer slows but now applies a 0.5 second stun. Empowered version now also stuns for a duration of 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, and 2 seconds. Cooldown increased, cost decrease. There you go. So you got now a stun mechanic followed up by a hardcore stun. So there's no more slow mechanic on the right crunch. So that's kind of interesting. The re crunch has been decreased in mana to 30 instead of 50, and there's some general balance changes there. You can pause the video to check that out. And now let's move on to the next hero, and that is Deca. Rocket Boots. Mana cost decreased from 60 to 25 at all levels. Cooldown decreased from 16, 14, 12, 10 to 11, 10, 9, 8. Stasis Bomb increased stun duration. Now she's able to stun for longer, by 1 second longer when she puts 4 points into it, and there's a 2.1 second stun, pretty nasty. Then a slow bubble ability damage increased from the early game side of it, as you can see from the numbers. Scaling decreased from 2.09 to 1.88, and a slow management has been increased for the early game, but then goes to a stable position when it reaches late game, when you put 4 points into that. Drogon has some changes as well. Old Rusty, mana cost increased, cooldown increased, slow magnitude increased from 80% at all levels to 25%, 29%, 33%, and 37%. So that means a slight nerf, but then give him greater slow, so that's kind of good. Rad Rounds now display bull count on your reticle for increased clarity. Then the damage has been decreased. Then also there's some power scaling increased numbers on there as well for that ability. Now let's move on to Feng Mao and his Reaping Dash ability. Will now collide with heroes and minions while targeting. The intention is to improve the consistency of the ability rather than having different rules for heroes and minions. Range increased from 900 to 1050 at all levels, so that's a little bit better with the range being increased, and bonus damage percent increased from 45%, 70%, 95%, 120 to 75%, 100%, 125%, and 150. That's a lot of damage increase. Oh my god, that's pretty good actually. Guardian shield increased from 75. Oof. His shield got massively buffed. Duration decreased from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. That's not too bad to be honest, because 425 shields like taking a base attack in the late game. Cooldown increased from 7 seconds to 8 seconds, so there's a little nerf. And the mana cost has been decreased as well, so you're able to spam that more often. Crippling Strike, slow magnitude increased from 20%, 23%, 26%, 29% to 30%, 35%, 40%, and 45%. Slow duration from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. So you got a greater slowing magnitude, but the slow duration has been decreased by 0.5 seconds. Imperial sentence cooldown decreased from 90, 80, 70 to 70, 60, 50. So pretty much you're able to use your ultimate a lot more often in the late game stages because it's got a 50-second cooldown. Now let's move on to the gadget, Seek and Destroy ability. Slow magnitude increased from 25, 35, 45, and 55% to 48%, 50%, 52%, and 54%. So you can see it has a greater effectiveness in the early game, and then also in the late game. It's still comparable to the last numbers, it's just 1% different, but I think this is pretty good for the early game to mid game spikes of gadget. And then also his speed gate ability has got a greater magnitude to 45% in the late game and 30% in the early game, and then 35 and 40% in the mid game. That's pretty good. Tesla Dome, slow magnitude increase from 50% to 75%, and that's what your ultimate when you apply it towards the AoE effect area that you've targeted. All those people will get slowed to 75%, so that's a lot of damage in that one area, and they can't really get out in time, so that's really nice. Let's move on to Gideon, and he's got some changes as well. Obviously, he was kind of strong in the last patch. Let's see what happened here. His Void Breach ability, base damage, and power scaling have been decreased. Now applies at 25%, 28%, 31%, and 34% slow for 2 seconds. Cooldown increased from 6 seconds to 10 seconds, and also his damage has been increased on his Cosmic Rift ability. Power scaling increased from 1.8 to 3.13. Oh, whoa. No longer slows. It looks like they switched their abilities and what they actually do, but the mechanic is still there, how one's horizontal and the other one's pretty much aerial hit. Oh, that's kind of interesting though. Why do they do that? I am not too sure, but that's pretty interesting. Maybe Cosmic Rift has a greater cooldown compared to Void Breach, but that's something we're going to check out after. Taunt Space cooldown increased from 12, 11, 10, 9 to 15, 13, 11, 9. So in the late game it's pretty much the same, but in the early game it's going to take a little bit more, so you have to make sure when you use this, use it wisely, because if you get caught, then you're going to get pretty much killed. If you've tried to do it midway and then within a fight, then you get stunned. And now his Black Hole ability, Black Hole Stuns, now reapplies on every damage instance. Oh, so every time a damage is going to happen with the Black Hole ability, it will stun enemies. Instead of stunning the enemy for the full duration, I think it's only going to stun enemies every time it does damage. A slight nerf there for Gideon, but it's still going to be useful and strong in the game. Greystone changes Assault the Gates, mana cost decreased from 60 to 50, damage increased, Make Way ability, mana cost decreased, Reforge has some issues and it looks like they fixed that, so that's great. And Greystone getting a slight buff, like mana cost decrease and damage increase on his ability. That's the main focus. And also his cooldown for his ult has been decreased to 60 seconds. So Greystone mains are pretty happy about that. Now let's move on to the next hero, and that's Grimex. Suppression mode, movement speed slow increased from 10% to 15%, 20%, 25% to 30, 36, 42, and 48%. So greater slow magnitude, really great for cutting your enemies. Mana cost has been decreased as well, and that's pretty nice. I actually like that. That's some good changes. Let's see the Grux changes, because Grux, everyone's complaining about him because they couldn't deal with him, but there's obviously some cards in the game you can use to completely counter him. That's something that we might talk about in a future video. Let's see, his Double Pain ability can no longer crit hit with that ability. Mana cost decreased from 40 to 20, so it looks like you can't get that crit hit anymore, so that's kind of sad. Crush ability now additionally stuns for a duration of 1.2 seconds, 1.4 seconds, 1.6, and 1.8 seconds. That's pretty nice. Smash and Grab also has some changes. It's just a fixed issue, so that's not too much. Warlord Challenge can no longer be interrupted mid-cast from crowd control, so that's pretty good. And then obviously, he's got some changes to his general balance. I feel like he's still powerful though. The only reason Double Pain seemed like it was a massive problem because he could crit off it. And then just taking that out means a lot. Crit cleave was something that's obviously broken in any game to be able to crit and cleave at the same time. So that's really great that they've taken that out, and hopefully people stop complaining about that character. Now let's move on to Howitzer and check out his abilities. His slow grenades, movement speed slow has been increased. His landmine has been changed with cooldown decrease from 30 seconds to 11 seconds at all levels. Make It Rain ability, which is ultimate, has been decreased to 7-second cooldown in the late game stages, so that is pretty nice. And now let's move on to Iggy and Scorch. Flame Turret base damage decreased from 21, 37, 54, 70 to 21, 35, 49, and 63. Tower power scaling decreased as well. Then also his Blaze ability, which is his ultimate, the base damage and the power scaling has been decreased on that as well. So with the new skin he got, he also copped a nerf. So that's kind of sad for Iggy and Scorch. Now let's check out Kalari, my baby. Let's see what happened to her. Shadow Walk ability mana cost decreased from 60 to 30. Movement speed bonus increased from 10% to 15%. Crippling Dagger slow magnitude increased from 40% to 65%. Slow duration increased from 1 second to 1.5 seconds. I'm going to say still pretty strong. I like this buff. Nice work, Epic Games. I like that. Chimera Ambush ability, slowing duration increased from 1 second at all levels to 2 seconds at all levels. Mana cost decreased from 65 to 40. And also his Unleash ability, the damage scaling reduction, it has been increased to 100%. towards the end game stages. Mana cost decreased from 65 to 30, so that's kind of great actually. Is Chimera back in the meta? I think it might possibly be. Chimera and phase combo, can we see that again? Let's move on to the next hero, and that is Quang. Live the Heavens ability mana cost has been decreased, damage has been increased to a great number of 246 in the late game stages. Defensive bonus duration increased from 2.5 seconds to 5 seconds. Whoa, what? That's kind of annoying. Tanky Quang is back, man. Judgment of the Heavens, tether now only works on heroes. The sword still damages minions upon landing, but should no longer tether them. Mana cost decreased, damage increased, duration increased. Oh my god. Terrified of the Quang mains. Fury of the Heavens, damage increased, scaling increased, cooldown decreased, mana cost decreased, movement speed slow increased to 40%, and move speed slow duration increased to 3 seconds. Wow, he got the most crazy buff. Okay, I think I have to play Quang in this patch. I have to test him out. He looks slightly overpowered. Now we move on to Lieutenant Belka, and her Seismic Assault stun duration has been increased, and that's pretty much the only change that's valuable to talk about. Now let's move on to Morogesh. She's got some general base changes, nothing too crazy. Same thing with Murdoch, nothing too crazy there. Let's move on to Muriel, and she's got some changes, a lot of them actually. So one of her abilities, movement speed magnitude increased from a certain amount to 35% at all levels. Duration increased from 2 seconds at all levels to 2.25, 2.5, 2.75. The mana cost has been decreased, and also the shield magnitude has been increased. Oh my god, Muriel's back as well. Then also her next ability, shield magnitude increased from a certain amount to 532, so it's better in the late game, early game, and mid game. And actually, every stage is actually better compared to before, so that's good. Also, her next ability, the damage has been increased, the power scaling has been increased, and the slow magnitude has been decreased to 42%. And that's not too bad. That's only in the late game stages. In the early game stages, she still has the exact same effect of being great with this ability. Reversal of Fortune now cleanses the shielded ally. Oh, slow duration decreased from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. Slow magnitude increased to 75%. Yeah, Muriel's back. So we're going to see Chimera, Muriel, and Quang just dominate. We need to check this after. We have to actually play these heroes because they look too strong. Nalbash, Thunk ability stun duration increase from a certain amount to 1.8 seconds in the late game stages, so that's good. March ability move speed boost increased to 34%. Songma People now generates a healing aura that ticks twice per second for 10, 15, 20, 25 health. Previously granted health regen. Overall healing is unchanged. Crash Bang Boom, damage increase from a certain amount to 6, 7, 8, so in the late game you can do crazy damage with this, and also has power scaling increase from a certain amount to 4.81. That also stuns for a duration of 1.5 seconds when knockup is applied. It's pretty much a new mechanic since they zoned out all the knockup heights, and that pretty much leaves a stun duration towards the end of the knockup, and that's kind of interesting. I like that. Nalbash is back too. He's always been here, but like, you know, he's going to be more powerful now. And now we move on to Phase and check her abilities. Telekinetic Link, the way this ability function has been adjusted. Okay, so the pulling mechanic has changed a bit. Is now able to pull stun or rooted allied heroes. No longer shares health regen with Phase Link teammate. Healing granted on ability cast is now a heal over time. Previously granted health regen, overall healing is unchanged. Psychic Flare, damage increase. Power scaling increase. Energy Lance, root duration increase. Okay, I see what they did. So pretty much Telekinetic Link got a little bit of a nerf with the health regen. It doesn't really work anymore with Phase Link teammates, so that's kind of sad. But at the same time, her other abilities got a buff to pretty much balance that out. I get that. So the sustained properties from Phase towards his allied teammate is not really there anymore as much as before. Like, it's still there. You can still able to heal them when you link to them with your abilities, but you can't give your own health regen towards them. So that's kind of sad. Let's move on to the next hero, and that is Rampage. And his ability Rumble mana cost has been decreased. Boulder Throw will now explode if it hits the ground instead of a hero, affecting the nearest enemy hero within a radius of 200 units. So now it's got every effect abilities on that actual ability, so that's pretty nice. And also has some other stuff there. Also, the stun duration increase has been slightly increased towards the late game to 2.4 seconds in the latest patch, so that's nice. King of the Jungle mana cost decreased from 40 to 20 at all levels. Health regen has been decreased, and the damage buff duration from 8 seconds to 5 seconds has pretty much been decreased as well. The enraged ability has got some changes as well. Rampage now pushes through minions more easily when enraged. Improve the usability of Rampage Boulder while enraged when targeting nearby enemies, because some reason you will chuck the rock and it looks like you're about to hit them, but then it just flies over their heads or doesn't get too close to them. It's weird, and glad to see that's been fixed. Let's move on to Revenant and see the changes there. His scale ability now applies a stacking 10% slow for 1 second when dealing scale bonus damage. Reckoning now applies a 0.5 second root to targets. Can now be cast while moving. Oh, that's nice. Very good change. Biggest problem with Revenant has always been, if you're not ahead of them, you're pretty much not going to do your damage and you're going to be fall behind while you try and do your damage output. So now it looks like you have some time of CC to lock them down for a couple seconds, which is going to help out so much. And if it's hard lockdown or soft CC, it means a lot when you're doing damage towards them. So that's nice. Victor, let's see what he's got there. Shock therapy, animation speed increase, cooldown increase, base damage increase, power scaling increase, slow magnitude increase, slow duration increase, and also the science duration has been increased. This is gorgeous. I like this. Oh, even electrocute got increased. Radius increased from 375 units to 500 units. Oh, that's nice. That's really great in team fights. And also some other changes there, which you can check for yourself. Rictor's back as well, even better than ever. He got a buff. I like that. So let's go to Sereth. Her chastised ability cooldown increased from 8 seconds to 40 seconds at all levels. So magnitude has been increased. Heaven's Fury has also had decreased mana. The horizontal range has been increased to 1350 at all levels. Also the damage has increased in the early game, but then goes low towards the end game. The power scaling has been decreased as well. Heresy ability has mana cost 250 mana at all levels. Let's check out Sevarog, because a lot of people have been playing Sevarog, and there's so many good things about Sevarog in this patch. So his scythe ability now grants stacks from any kill Sevarog gets rather than just kills from his abilities. Bonus threshold for stacks increased from 10, 30, 60, 100 to 20, 60, 120 to 200. Targeting shape is now a wider wedge instead of a narrow rectangle, and it has been changed to auto confirm. This allows players to use Cypher while continuing to hold down basic attack. Mana cost decreased from 35 to 15, damage increase and power scaling has been increased. Subjugate ability mana cost decreased, root duration increase, slow duration increase, damage increase. Colossal Blow has some changes as well. Damage increase, power scaling. Sevarog is back, boys. If you're a Sevarog main, you have to play him in this patch. It looks like he's going to be a powerhouse. Let's go to Shimbi. Damage increase from her line tempo ability to 187 damage at the late game stages. Improved consistency of projectile as well. So it looks like a slight buff there and a slight balance. Sparrow changes, piercing shot, mana cost decrease, and also Hail the Arrows cooldown decrease, mana cost decrease. Relentless max stacks increase from 5 to 10 stacks on Relentless, and also the percentage bonus damage has been decreased to those numbers right there on your screen. And now let's move on to Steel and check out his changes. His shield bash ability's damage increase, scaling increase, stun duration increase from 0.5 at all levels to 0.6, 0.8, 1, and 1.2 seconds, so increase there. Shield slam, stun duration adjusts from 2 seconds at all levels to 1.5, 2, and 2.5 seconds. Let's go to Faye. Bramble Patch ability movement speed slowed increased to those numbers there. Fly Trap now applies a stun for 1 second to pull targets. Pull delay has been decreased from 1.25 seconds to 0.3 seconds, so that's a buff. Vines no longer break when the plant's line of sight is broken. I never knew that would actually happen. That's actually interesting. I never knew that. So that's good to see that that's back to normal, or back to what I thought it would be initially. So that's great. Let's move on to Twin Blast. His grenade ability, damage increase, slow magnitude increase, mana cost decrease, ventilate, number of shots fired decreased, the firing duration decreased, damage per shot increased, power scaling per shot increased, total damage increased, total power scaling increase as well. So you're going to do more damage in a slower duration with less shots. So that's pretty much a good buff in my opinion. Twin Blast, nice. That's actually really good. Wraith changes. Wraith can now jump while performing this ability. Knock Knock. Thank God. We wanted that to happen ages ago, and it looks like it's actually happening now, so that's nice. Who's there? Mana cost decrease from 65 to 25 at all levels. Back it up. Mana cost decrease from 100 to 70 at all levels. So pretty much some mana pool issues that he had have been now decreased to better numbers. So that's good. And now let's move on to the next hero, and that is Wukong. Staff of the Legend. Offensive stance now knocks enemies aside. Offensive stance now stuns for 1.2, 1.4, 1.6 if the enemy is hit by the primary knockback. And also the damage has been increased from those certain numbers to 275 in the late game stages. Now Cloud Walker offensive stance slam distance can now be aimed. Move speed slow updated from those numbers to 41% in the late game. Move speed slow duration increased from 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds. Damage increase, scaling increase, control aggression evasive stance, heal increase from those certain numbers. That is pretty much a good buff. That's a general buff towards Wukong. That's nice. It's going to make him more useful. Let's move on to Yin, and that is her ability Backlash. Mana cost has been decreased to 0 at all levels, so you can just spam this ability no matter what. Lash Kick Directional Hop now takes 20% less time to complete. Confirmation changed to Quick Cast. Damage increased. Mana cost decrease. Wind Boom ability mana cost has been decreased. The Quailing Gale ability, which is an ultimate slow magnitude, increased to 60% at all levels. So that's really nice. And the last hero that we're going to talk about is Zinx. Is she back in the meta? Let's see. Bad Medicine ability. Initial wave now applies 25, 30, 35, 40% slow magnitude for 2 seconds of that duration. Kitty Claw's base damage has been increased. Wait. Yeah, it's been increased. Why say increased or decreased? It's been increased. Power scaling has been increased as well, so that's nice. And also Ricochet stun has base damage on towards it and payload scaling of 1.67. Stun duration has been increased from 1 second base with an additional 0.25 seconds per bounce to 1.2 seconds base with an additional 0.2 seconds bounce. Okay, so the initial effect of the stun duration when the first hit is buffed. When it bounces off enemies, it's a little bit slower by 0.05 seconds, which is something that you might not really notice unless you're on a pro level of Paragon. Dirty healing from damage taken decreased from 50% to 30%. Mana to healing cost per point of health decreased from those certain numbers there, and that's pretty interesting. Also something about ranged heroes, improved consistency of ranged basic attacks. Okay, so that's all the hero changes, all the changes I want to talk about within this patch. And also there's some general changes, some UI changes, some gem changes. You can pause the video when you want, so you're able to see those numbers on the screen right now. Some polish bug fixes for cards. Certain cards have been changed. There you go, you can see them in the infinities, which ones are better, which ones are weaker. But honestly, cards are always going to be changing, they're never going to be in a balanced position until everything is precisely done with the heroes, because heroes need to be in a good position in order for cards to be in a good position. And it looks like there's a lot of things here, like the new card form of the Grubbish, which we've already talked about in another video before, so that's kind of interesting to actually see in the game, and something that we might use very soon. So overall, this looks pretty nice, and I like the idea of this new patch. It's a really good one, and with the heroes, what I consider to be the best heroes are Wukong, Twin Blast, Sevrog, Rictor, Revenant, Narbash, Muriel. There's actually so many. Queen, Chimera, and that's pretty much it. The rest are all got some decent changes, but those are the powerhouses in my opinion in this patch. But mates, as always, tell me your opinions and thoughts in the comment section down below. And also, which hero are you going to play after watching this video? And also, is your main getting buffed or nerfed? Tell me in the comment section down below, because my main Clara got buffed and I'm kind of happy about that. So tell me your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section down below. So mates, if you did enjoy this video, show us by smashing that below like button. Let's try to get 200 likes on this video. Makes you want to see more Paragon gaming content and gaming content in general on my channel. All you have to do is share this with your friends and hit the subscribe button to become a mate today. And that is all of this video. Oh, time's going, don't you worry. Back very soon. Hey, dance boys, who's dancing? Nothing yet. And mates, all these little changes build up to being something great for the future of Paragon, and I can't wait for all the noobs to come into the game and I just destroy them as Kalari. It's gonna be fun times, fun times.